Welcome back to From the South, and we now go back to Ecuador with days to go before the election in the country, and we now welcome Juan Valarezo. He's chair of the International Relations Department at the Catholic University of Ecuador. Thank you, Juan Carlos, for joining us here in From the South.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, Juan Carlos, tell us, what do we know at this point about what's coming on Sunday?
Well, what we do know for sure is that this may end up in a runoff between the two top candidates. There are over 16 candidates running for the presidential election. However, it is well known that there are two that are at the top, Daniel Noboa and the contender Luisa Gonzalez.
So just to get a little bit deeper into what is going on in Ecuador, we have been seeing a year that was marked by different sort of crisis, and insecurity is one of the main topics in the country. So tell us, how does that play into this election? We've been seeing different measures taken by President Noboa in the last few days. How do you see this impacting the results on Sunday?
I consider that this is the definite topic that it would determine who people vote for, right? I think it's very important, the fact that we analyze how the candidates have addressed the issue of insecurity. On the part of Daniel Noboa, we see a continuation of a policy that has proven not to be that effective, right? The militarization of the conflict and the problem has turned out into more violence. There's now evidence that the criminal organizations have become stronger, and they are now more present all over the country. So apparently his approach has not resulted in the expected results. In addition to that, the proposals that Luisa Gonzalez gives are not that clear regarding how to control the problem with insecurity and drug trafficking. Her speech resembles a lot to the speech from, the Revolución Ciudadana's era 10, 15 years ago. So in my view, I think it also needs to adapt to the current demands of the people. We have to consider that there are a number of people that are undecided and still haven't made up their mind about who to vote for.
So we are trying to, just day before the elections, bring to our international audience just the key topics to understand the situation in Ecuador before this polls. So the energy crisis has also been on the news, both nationally and internationally. So I wanted to ask you, what is the situation at the moment in this regard? And again, how could this impact the results on Sunday?
Well, I think what Ecuador went through in the last year or so with the blackouts and the lack of energy in different parts of the country due to climate change and stuff. But also I would agree with many that consider that it is also a mismanagement of the resources, a bad planning of the issue. How Daniel Noboa handled it, I think, was very reactive. I don't think it was propositive. I don't think it was proactive in terms of looking at different solutions. And the ones that were taken seemed to have, cut the problem, but not to the root, because the Engineers Association has already said that it is very likely that we'll have blackouts again in April. The problem here is a very complex one, because we need energy, we need different sources, alternative sources of energy as well, and that's something that they need to consider.
And from what you were saying, I gather that one of the key aspects to get into and analyze what's happening on Sunday has to do with how the people evaluate how the current president has dealt with this sort of crisis in the country. So, of course, Ecuador is at an exceptional mandate at the moment, because actually Luisa Gonzalez and also Daniel Noboa faced each other just a couple of years ago to end what was Lazo's term. So this situation may be repeated on Sunday. How does this moment compare to that one in which, of course, Daniel Noboa was the winner? And how could what you were saying in terms of the evaluation of this short mandate come to play at what will be a new edition of that poll?
Well, I think you're totally right? A lot of people are evaluating now Daniel Noboa's actions as a president, and many are disenchanted with what he proposed and what he did. In fact, we see that he still has a very strong base of supporters. In fact, he leads all of the polls previous to last week that were officially over, and it says a lot as well about the bases that support Luisa Gonzalez, which is also a very strong base, but also with the context of supporting Rafael Correa, right? So we see here a polarization of support. However, what's grown in the last year, I think it's the number of people that are undecided. This will be the determining factor to see whether Daniel Noboa or Luisa Gonzalez end up in the first place. Many speculate that this will be a victory in the first ballot of the election. I highly doubt that, but we'll see, because as you know, with the recent elections in the US as well, polls are really not to be trusted that much.
Excellent. So thank you so much, Juan Carlos Valarezo. We were talking about the elections that are coming on Sunday. It's a pleasure to have you here in From the South.
Thank you very much for having me.